Okay, so this video is going to be about putting in text on your screen, like for a message or a label for a scoring area or something like that. And so it's very similar to putting pictures in. We'll follow the same series of steps, only we're not dealing with images, we're dealing with text. And because we're dealing with text, we have to deal with fonts, because fonts are the shape and style in which we display things that are text related on the screen. Okay, so what we're going to do is first we're going to come over to your content area, and we're actually going to create a piece of content that's a sprite. So it seems kind of weird. It's a sprite font, so it seems kind of weird. So we're going to make a new item, and in here we're going to collect sprite fonts. Okay, and I am going to have maybe a different font for my score and a different font for my title and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to call this score font, so I can display my score in that or something like that. And I'm going to add that, and that will simply add a description that the computer can use to draw images in the screen. You can see the Segoye UI Mono is the name of it. It's size 14, and it has some other things you can change down here, but I'm not going to change those. Okay, so I'm back to my game1.cs code, and so at the top of the code, up with my public class, which is the beginning of my program, with my variables, I'm going to add a variable now that we're going to use to refer to this font. So we can, whenever we want to display something using that font, we can give it a variable name that we would refer to. In Microsoft Word, this might be Times New Roman or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, there's a sprite font, capital S, capital F, that we're going to have to use as the variable type. And then the variable name that I'm choosing to use is score font. And the protocol for using multiple word variables is the first variable word is all lowercase, and from then on the first letter of the following words would be capital. So score font is 2 words, the first letter S is small, and the second F is capital. So from now on, if I ever want to display something in this font, and maybe it's a specific size and style that I like, I'll refer to it as sprite font. Okay. So there's the variable name. So we're going to come down to the load content method, and there already should be something in there that gets our graphics sort of going, and we are going to enter in a command that's going to load this sprite font into our program. So if you will look at this line of code, you'll notice it's a lot like adding a picture. And so what we'll say is the score font, which is the variable that we created up here, okay, that score font is equal to this.content.load. So this program, go into the content, okay, and let's load this font descriptor file into our program. And it does that. This part that is in parentheses right here is the exact spelling from that right there, okay, and what goes in the brackets is the type of file that it is, and it is sprite font, and that comes from sprite font right there. And that now loads that font into our game. So we're actually done. We're ready to go. We can actually display text on the screen. And so if you'll scroll down to the draw method, of course, that's where all of our graphic related stuff happens. And the first line of code should be there already, and that's the line of code which clears the background screen every 60th of a second and puts in it a color, in this case cornflower blue. Kind of crazy name, but there it is. And then all of our graphics code, whether it be for text or a picture, is going to be inside of a spritebatch.begin and ending at the spritebatch.end. You may have 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, whatever, however many lines of code you would need to display as many pictures and pieces of text on the screen as you would like to. So we're going to put a command here, which is actually going to display the word score on the screen. And so that line of code is like this. All right, so because it's a little bit different than the image than for text, so we're going to use spritebatch.drawString. String is the computer word for letters and or numbers on a that are going to be displayed on a screen. And so in this case, we're going to display the string, the phrase your score is, and then eventually would stick on the actual score or something like that. But the way this command's set up is score font is the variable name that we chose up here. All right, and so it now knows to use that font. Again, we may have a score font and and maybe a health font and a strength font and some other fonts for displaying messages in the screen or whatever. And so anyway, and so argument number 2 is the actual text you would like to display in the screen. Make sure it's put in quotes to make it know that it is a string. Okay, the third argument is the vector. The vector is a computer word, probably a math word as well, for a coordinate. Okay, just like on a grid. 50 pixels over and then 50 pixels down from the top left of the screen. So at position 50, 50, display the words your score is, and we're going to display them in red color. Okay, and let's see if that actually does that by running our program. There it is. Okay, so let's play with this so you can believe me about how this is set up. So let's change this your score is to current score. Okay, and let's change it from the top left, 50-50. Let's put it at 250, 350. So over 250, down 350, and let's let it be yellow. Okay, and if we run that, there we go. It is down 250, or sorry, over 250, down 350, and it is yellow in color as we just described it. Okay, and let's do one more thing. I mentioned before that when you first made this sprite font right here, if I double click on this sprite font right here, up comes the XML file which describes that. Just so you can see how this works, I'm going to make this size, whatever, 24. I'm going to save that. I'm going to run it again, and I should get the same thing I did before, only now my font is displaying in size 24. Let's see if that actually works. There it is. So that's how you'll actually display text on a screen.